You are known globally as a pioneer in the field of personal branding. Nowadays, we hear so much about personal branding, but I'm sure back when you started, it wasn't something a lot of people were talking about. So, what got you interested in this area of branding and personal branding, especially for leaders?
Yeah. Well, first, I spent the bulk of the first part of my career managing mega brands. That's what I did. I managed billion-dollar brands for Fortune 100 companies, Procter and Gamble, Bristol Myers Squibb. So I knew, Shan, that great brands didn't get to be great by accident. There is a tried and true system for building great brands. And I loved leadership, and I had a lot of experience with it. So I thought, well, how can I combine my two passions, leadership and branding, and bring them together and how they work together for leaders to be greater at what they want to do and build a brand for themselves. And around that time, a book came out. I won't say who the author was, but it was quite controversial, and it was about personal branding.
Okay.
And I read it because I wanted to hear what it had to say. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with the way it came across on branding. I felt there was a better way to build a brand as an individual and as a leader. So I gathered up what I knew about brands and how to build one and decided to pull together my own system for how those principles could apply to leaders. And it was interesting. At first, I'll have to tell you, it was quite controversial because I remember one article, particularly in the United Kingdom, they were like, this is ridiculous. No one has a brand, blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of resistance, but I kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And then, of course, it became a huge movement, right? Shifting to online social media. Everybody had their own individual brand. Suddenly, everybody was a brander. And that's when it really took off.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how you stuck with it because, so often we give up on those things early on.
Yeah, well, I believed in it. I believed in it. And I think we all have a brand, whether we realize it or not. So if you're going to have one anyway, you might as well take charge of it.
That's it. Yeah. And Brenda, did you study marketing branding then before you went into?
Well, so I went to business school before I joined Procter and Gamble, and you take all the classes. You take operations and production and management, and marketing was one of them. And I remember thinking, yeah, I kind of like this. That was fun, but I didn't really think about marketing much. And then when I was going through leaving Harvard Business School, they made me go through a career assessment type of thing. And one of the career assessments was they made me take a test on what people are really good at. And you had to take your own assessment. And anyway, long story short, I went in to get my debrief of the outcomes. And the woman looked at me and she said, have you considered marketing? And I'm like, not really. Why? She showed me my results. And my results it was actually plotted me against all the various like CEOs, COO, whatever. Marketing director through the roof. She said, I've never seen results like this. You really should consider marketing. So I said, well, okay. By that time I had done finance, administration, operations, IT, done human resources, but I hadn't done marketing. So I thought, okay. So I joined Procter & Gamble and fell in love with it. And was like a fish in water. I loved it.
And what would you say are the key ingredients or, the competencies that you need to be a good marketer? What did you have that put you up there?
Well, I don't know about what I have, but I think in general, you need curiosity, objective curiosity. It's really important. You need to be able to look at things with an objective perspective, no attachments to a specific outcome. Because a great brander and marketer is out listening to what the consumer or the customer needs and wants. And sometimes they don't even know if they need or want it. And your ability to sleuth and figure that out is what makes a great brander and marketer.
I love that. It's almost like you're doing your little investigation and,
Oh, yeah, it's fun. It's a mystery. It's really fun. I used to spend a ton of time going into people's homes. And I would see I'd watch them. I'd watch how they did their laundry. I'd watch how they washed their hair. I mean, really, it was crazy, right? And you just learn so much about people that way. And I'm a very naturally curious person about people anyway. So it was a good fit.
And how do you tie that to personal branding? Obviously as a person, as a leader, you said we have a brand. So how do you market yourself as a leader?
So there's some core steps to building a brand, and I think that's really important. And I'm a big fan of keeping things simple. So I knew what it took to create a multi-mega brand, and I broke it down into its simplest steps. And I did the same thing with leaders. And there's 3 key steps. Very simple steps. It really does come down to this. Number 1, you must define your brand. You need to know what you want to stand for. It's really that powerful. And there's ways to do that, but the key is understand that. Number 2 is once you know what you want to stand for, you have to decide how you're going to communicate it. And we communicate our brand through 5 activities we do every day, each and every day. How we act, how we react, how we look, how we sound, and how we think. And that last one is really foundational because it impacts all the other 4. So know what you want to stand for. Make sure that you're communicating it in how you act, react, look, sound, and think. And then thirdly, avoid damaging it. You've worked really hard to build your brand. Be consistent, because consistency in branding is everything. It's everything. And that's what really makes a brand strong. And to help understand whether a brand is strong, whether for a leader or for a corporation, it's a very simple little exercise I do with leaders. And it's like I ask them to think, what do you think your brand is? I like to do 5 words exercise. So what are the 5 words that you think describe yourself? Then I say, okay, now what are the 5 words you think describe what you would like your brand to stand for, your desired brand? And then lastly, what are the 5 words others would use to describe you? And when your self-brand, your desired brand, and the brand as others see you are all consistent, I call it like a triangle, you've built a strong brand.
You distinguished branding from reputation. Is it possible for a leader to reverse the reputation or somehow fix the reputation that they've damaged for themselves? Is that possible or not?
Absolutely. So listen, reputation is the brand you built to date. Reputation is based on the past and what you've been like in the past. Your brand is based on where you are today and where you want to be. So a brand is more future focused. A reputation is more past focused. So people say to me, well, I figured out that here's my brand as it stands today, but I'm not that happy with it. So I need to make some changes. And it comes down to consistency. Think about McDonald's. I've traveled all around the world. I've been to like 100 different countries around the world. And I can tell you, you go to McDonald's in every country in the world, you're going to do pretty much the same thing. That's how great brands are built. They're built on consistency. So the same with people. You have to be consistent. I remember a woman I was coaching, and she needed to change a foundational behavior. She had an issue, and her issue was she would explode. She would explode. She'd get really upset about something, and she would really fly off the handle, I call it mushroom management. It would build up and it would explode at the top. And so we really worked on this, and consistency was critical. I said consistency. And she was really making progress. And I was checking in with her stakeholders. She was checking in with her stakeholders now and then. So I was getting positive feedback from her stakeholders. And about 3 months in, she came into my office very deflated, and she said, Brenda, I blew it. I just blew my top. I was working so hard, but I blew my top. And I checked in with her stakeholders, and every single one of them said, yeah, she's back to her old self, right? One mistake, one blow up, that's all it took, right? So consistency. That's how you build a strong brand.